Hi there, Stampers. It's Linda Schmitt with Stampin' with the Houndz. Thanks for joining me today. I am doing a Gatefold Fun Fold series this month, and continuing on, this one I'm going to be showing you two different sizes for what we call the Twisted Gatefold. And these have been around for quite some time. A lot of people have done this smaller version, which fits into an A2 sized envelope, and then I also have this larger one that'll fit into a more of like a 5x7 because with the angle on this, that's what it has to go into a larger envelope, but I kind of like the bigger sized cards sometimes. So I'm going to be featuring the In the Grove bundle die and stamp set, which you can get on sale this month during June 2024. This is a new set, so you get the bundle. It's another additional, so with the bundle price, there's an additional 10% off as well this month. So this is a great fun die set, and it does coordinate with our current other one that we had that was Grassy Grove. So this is kind of a fun set that kind of coordinates with a lot of other kind of nature-y stamp sets that we have. For Forever Forest is another one that I like to that we'll be using today, that I also like to use with this set. So this is, like I said, this is the larger size, and we're going to be using some of the new paper, the Thoughtful Design specialty paper, and this one has a packet. It's a 12x12 specialty paper, and you get, I'm trying to think here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 8 different colors, but you're getting, it's an ombre effect. So it'll give you kind of a variety of colors within there, but it's got that little bit of shimmer to it. And I think there's like 5, like one's kind of the peacock, there's the copper, there's a green, there's like a misty moonlight, and then kind of that berry burst, or not berry burst, but oh, this is that new color. Petunia Pop, sorry. I'm still learning all these new colors on it. So it's a really fun paper. And then again, the other new one is that Thoughtful Journey, which is a beautiful watercolor scenery paper. So there's just kind of a close-up of the larger one. And again, I'm using some of those dies from the Forever Forest, and then as well as from In the Grove. And then the smaller version, this one I did kind of more in the greens, and I did more of the stamping on this one with the In the Grove. So there's the front, and then you just twist it to open. And I had my little rabbit from that die cut. So it's kind of fun. And again, you can decorate all these panels however you want to. I mean, you don't have to decorate all of them if you don't want to, but it just depends on what scraps I have. And then here's the other one that I did. Now this has got the Petunia Pop cardstock as the base, which is one of our new in colors. And then there's that Peach Pie, which is new, as well as the Basic Beige, which is a new neutral color. And then on this one, it opens up. So again, I did kind of the decorating these inside panels as well on that. And then some other ones that I did a while ago. These are using some of like the Xenia stamp set, just to kind of give you some other ideas of what you can do with this fold. So this is a smaller one again. And then this one kind of pops out. So I did a lot more of the die cutting. So, and on this one, I did more of like a cardstock instead of doing the designer series paper. So you can do that as another option too. So that's the smaller one. And then the larger version, I did, again, more of the die cutting. And then there's that paper, the flowering Xenia paper. And then again, this one I did all of the DSP as my triangle patterns. And then some other ones, this is the Cake Fancy stamp set, and then this was some retired paper that we had last year. But this was one that I had done prior to the catalog. But so that's the smaller version. So again, kind of another. And on this one, I did not decorate those panels. So that's the other way of doing it. And then the one that my card class, my card club had done earlier this spring was with the cherry set. And so this one they did some stenciling for that bottom layer, and then we just did the cardstock that we embossed, and then we swiped it with a white ink pad to kind of give it that. So that's another way of doing it. So this one's all cardstock. We didn't do any designer series papers. And again, that's that larger one. So kind of fun. it's kind of a unique fold, and a lot of people, I know when I've given that card design to them, they're like, this is kind of a funky fold. But we're going to get started. You are going to need your cardstock base. We're going to start with, I think we'll start with the larger one for now. Then we'll do the smaller one. So for the larger one, your card base is the 5.5 by 8 1/4. You're going to score at 2 3/4 and then at 5.5. And then what you do is you just do 2 diagonals on the outside panels. And then these come in as your valley folds. And then these will come back as mountain folds to make that twist on there. So that's kind of the little template. And then for your panels, what you'll need, so again, that cardstock base is 5.5 by 8 1/4, and then we're going to score at 2 3/4 and 5.5 on the long side, and I'm using Pretty Peacock. And then for your top, what I call the top piece, your top panel, you're going to need one of those, and that is going to be 2.5 by 5 1/4. And again, we're going to cut this diagonally in half to get our 2 pieces. So that's the top one. And then the bottom, what I call the bottom panel, and then the inside panel, those are just a little bit smaller on the height, but it's still 2.5 wide, but then it's going to be 5 1/8 inch long, and you'll need 2 of those if you want to decorate the inside of the card. So again, I just have, it's the same piece of paper, and then we're going to cut both of these diagonally in half as well. So 2 of those if you want to decorate the inside. And then your inside, the middle piece where you put your greeting, this one is cardstock, and that is 2.5 by 5 1/4, and I'm using the basic beige for that. So we'll start with the scoring first. All right, so on the long side, we're going to score at 2 3/4 and 5.5. All right, and then what you want to do is we are going to do our diagonal lines. So what you'll do is you'll take this panel, and on my scoring, I did a Sharpie going down, or I used a Sharpie marker and drew a line and going down the center. So this way I can line up my point with my other score line so that I can score diagonally on my Simply Scored tool. So you'll start from the upper left and then score down to that first score line, which was our 2 3/4 inch mark. Then just slide your paper over, keeping it kind of at an angle. And again, we're going to take this top mark, which was our 5.5 inch score line, and we're going to score diagonally down to the bottom right. And so now you have your diagonal, and then these are your main score lines, and then the other diagonal one. And that's it for the scoring. And then I will go ahead and we will fold on these, and then we'll do our cutting of our Designer Series paper panels. Okay, so like I said, these are going to come in. This is going to make your gatefold. And then this one, the diagonal piece, that's going to come back to make almost like a tuxedo. It kind of looks like a little jacket collar. All right, and then the other one here, we're going to bring that in as a gatefold. So that's going to be your valley fold. And then you'll do the mountain fold to bring this flap, the diagonal flap back. And sometimes you may need to just play or use your bone folder to kind of force it into place if it's not lining up. Because when you close this, ideally you want these to meet together in the middle. Okay, so then that's your fold. Okay, actually I'm going to bring this in just a little bit more. I think this side is the one I need to just play with a little bit here just to force that in. There we go. There, that meets better. There we go. Okay, so now what we want to do, and I did this for my card class, you are going to be, when you're cutting your panels, so I did this as 2 colors. So this blue is my top panel. That's going to be this one. So for today, this card, this is my top panel, okay? When you go to cut this, it has to be done with starting your diagonal at the upper left and then cutting down to the lower right so that it matches up with your triangle shapes when you go to put those panels on. Okay, so we're going to cut from here to here. And I do have this PDF. This is uploaded to my Facebook group page, Stampin' with the VIP Houndz. I do have these instructions, this PDF tutorial. It's in the files there. So you can access that if you join our group. So we're going to go ahead and cut this. I need to grab a paper trimmer. Make a little bit of room here. All right. So again, this top panel, I want my diagonal going this way. So we're going to cut, again, lining this up. Oops, I got to be in my, not my scoring part, in my cutting part. All right, so we're going to do, so this, I'm just lining this up into my cutting part of my paper trimmer. Okay, so now we have our top pieces, which now will be adhered to that top panel. Okay, so now our bottom one, we have to turn the paper the other way so that our right triangle now is on that right side. So for the other pieces, and these you do, these are the ones where you trim it just a 1/4 of an inch shorter. So it's 2.5 by 5 1/8 by 5 1/8. And again, because I'm decorating the inside as well, I have 2 of them. And so both of these, if I read, I want to make sure I'm doing that right. So if I'm cutting this way, yep, that'll work. Okay, so I just want to make sure that my bottom one, I'm cutting it the correct way. Okay, I just always second guess myself. So now we're going to cut it going from the upper right down to the lower left for these next 2. And I'm going to cut both pieces together at the same time. Hopefully that'll work. We shall see. Okay, so now we're going to have upper right, lower left, so that our right triangle is going to be at that top. Yes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now these, and of course one is for my inside and then this will be for my front. So then these are the ones that go underneath, like so. All right, so now that's the cutting. So let's go ahead and get this assembled. like I said, as you're doing this, I always, you know, double check myself. I either have my little template out just to show, you know, which direction I need to have those lines going, or I've got the card in front of me so that I can make sure I'm cutting it correctly. All right, so now let's go ahead and adhere this to the panels. And like I said, these can be, you know, if you want to do designer series paper, or if you wanted to do cardstock that's been embossed or texturized with, like, you know, a stencil or something, you can do that too. Just make sure that's on there. All right, so that is our top panels. And then these were our bottom panels. So we're going to go ahead and adhere that on this inside. So when you lift up this flap, this is going to go right underneath there. And then the other one, you just kind of lift up this flap and it'll go right here. So as you're doing these, you just want to make sure that you pay attention to the direction of your, if there's a certain up and down pattern on your designer series paper, just make sure that you are aware of making that pattern as you're cutting the paper, that you're not going to be upside down or anything. All right, so there is the front of the card. So we've got the top and the bottom panels. Now when we go to open it, now these panels here, the triangles, so that was my other one that I cut. And so on this one, which I did need to flip this because that one should have been, but this paper's okay, I can flip it. Okay, so we did cut it this way, but ideally I should have done it. I have to use the back side of the paper. So if I wanted, that's what I should have done. What I should have done, if I wanted this pattern showing, I should have cut it this way. So I should not have cut both of those papers at the same time. But it's fine because this paper, the front and back, will work. So I'm good with this. But just make note, don't cut both of them at the same time. I was trying to be a little bit quicker on the videos, but oh well, there's that. Okay, and then this one, yeah, as long as your paper, if both sides work for your project, then it's not an issue. Actually, I kind of like this back side of this paper too, so that's a good way of showing both the front and the back side of your designer series paper. All right, and then for the inside, this again can be cardstock, and I just did 2.5 by 5 1/4. And this is the basic beige. And we'll just adhere this to the inside. All right. And then for the focal point, you'll want to have, again, I tend to use a lot of the circles. So on this one, I've already got everything decorated just to kind of save on time. So this one, I did the Everyday Essentials circle, and then I cut out that same designer series paper, this pattern, with one of the circle dies, and then that is just layered onto the smoky slate cardstock. And then I just decorated I just punched out with the wild wheat with one of the circle punches. I just did that, and I did my clouds from the Forever Forest, and then the tree, the fox, are both from not in the grove, but the Yes, in the Grove. In the Grove stamp set. All right, so now we want to attach this onto our card front, and you only want to do just the half of that circle. So what I like to do many times is just take a pencil. So once I kind of have this positioned where I want it, I just take a pencil and I'm just going to draw a little line here so that I know I only need to put adhesive on this section. And I tend to use the tear and tape just to hold this on a little bit better, and then just erase your pencil line. And then we'll just remove the backing. All right, and adhere this onto our card front. Just want to make sure I'm got my card positioned straight. And that looks good. And then I just give it a quick press. All right, so that's the larger one. And then I'll decorate the inside later. Okay, so now the smaller one, we're going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to show you that one for the dimensions. The smaller one, we are going to do a version of this one, I think is what I had out. So for the smaller one, your dimensions, and I'm sorry I didn't write these out, but this one is going to be for your cardstock base. It will be 4 1/4 by 7 1/2. You're going to score on the long side at 2 1/2 and 5. And then your panels for the top are 2 1/4 by 3 7/8. The inside cardstock is 2 1/4 by 4. And then again, this one fits into your normal size envelope, or your A2, I should say, the standard one. So let's go ahead and do the scoring on this one. I had all the pieces, but I didn't write my measurements down. All right, so this, I just tried to keep these all together so I wouldn't lose them. That's for my focal point. So for the card base, oh yeah, and I was going to use some blending brushes on this one, but okay. So on this 4 1/4 by 7 1/2 inch cardstock, and I'm using Petunia Pop, we are going to score on the long side at 2 1/2 and 5 inches. Okay. Then the same thing, we're going to do those diagonal lines on the outside panels. So we're going to line this up so that the upper left is then aligned with that 2 1/2 inch score line. And then you'll score diagonally. And then sliding this over, we're going to now line up where that 5 inch score line was, down to the lower right to make the diagonal. And I'm just going to go one more time over these 2 1/2 and 5 inch. There we go. All right, so there's our scoring. And then same thing, we'll bring in these to make our gatefold as a valley fold. And then the diagonal one is going to come back as a mountain. And then we'll bring this panel in as a valley fold. And then the little triangle flap comes back. And this is where I like to double check to make sure we're meeting in the middle. And I'm going to just force this one a little bit just to get there we go. Okay. All right, so we've got our triangles going that way. So there's our twisted diagonal. All right, now for our panels, I had, let's see, I think I was doing, I have this, but I don't think I'm gonna use that one now. I was going to do, hopefully the shorter one on there. Just looking at how my, yeah, I think I might just do the skyline on this one. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm going to make sure, because these are, were they the same size? I just need to double check here. I did all of these the same. Okay, so we will do, this is going to be our bottom one, and then this one is going to be our top. I think on that. Okay, so for the top one, again, we're going to cut going diagonally from the upper left down to the lower right. So I have to be in my paper trimmer. I think I'll just do these, cutting them separately, just to be on the safe side. All right, so this is my top one. So again, I've got it. We're going to cut from here going down to make that diagonal. Oops. Okay, so that's going to be my top one. And then this one will be my bottom, which is going to be underneath here. So we want to make sure that our paper, when we cut it, we're going from here to here so that we have that right triangle on the bottom. So now we're going to go, wait, oh my gosh, I always have to stop and, there we go. I confuse myself when I'm looking at this from a different angle and I'm doing the video. Okay, so we're cutting, going that way now. Oops. All right, so now this then tucks underneath like so. And then these are on your top. And then on this one, I'm just going to leave, I'm not going to decorate the inside on that one, decided. All right, and then our inside panel, this one was 2 1/4 by 4, and I did that basic beige again. So we'll real quick assemble this one. So again, these were going to be my top ones. I always like these folds where you can do different sizes of the fold, just to kind of give you a little bit of variety with in your card making. And with this size, it's another good way of using up some of your smaller pieces of your designer series paper that you have, like, you know, some scraps left over. Oh, my new cutting blades come Monday, and it can't be soon enough. These blades they're so dull. I tried like sharpening them with like a nail file. Yeah, that didn't really work, but nothing worse than a dull blade when you're trying to cut cardstock. All right, so these are those bottom panels underneath the flap. Yeah, this card's definitely got a rustic look to it with my frayed blade. Ugh. All right. And then again, this was at 2 1/4 by 4, and this is just that neutral cardstock. All right, and then for this one, I was going to decorate it. So I've already kind of die cut some things, but my plan, I was going to stamp on, is it this one? So yeah, I need to keep it going this way. Okay, so I took the deckled circles, and I have 3 layers here, and it's because what I'm doing is I'm going to be die cutting the mountains and then the flowers, and I've got my sun kind of coming out there. So this is just an extra, just to give it, not sure why. Oh, I know why I did that one, because that's going to be just for support. So, but I had these so they were lined up just to match. No, I can't see where I had it. Oh, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we are going to stamp our mountains, and then we're going to die cut these out really quick. And so I'm going to use the boho blue onto boho blue. And so the boho blue is one of our in colors, and I'm going to be using the mountains from the In the Grove, and then we're just going to die cut these, and then they're just going to be assembled onto that other circle. So I'm just kind of cutting, let's see here, I guess it doesn't really matter because I'm just going to die cut all of this out. So we'll do that one. And then clean up my excess ink here. We'll set that aside. And then the flowers, or the field of flowers, I should say, we'll do that in, let's see, what is my green? I could probably do, maybe we'll stick with the Mossy Meadow. And then we'll for sure do the Petunia Pop, I think, for my flowers. And then we could also do, I think we could still bring in maybe a little bit of that wild wheat for contrast. All right, so we'll do our flowers. So on this one, I just had a half a circle because that's really all I really need. Because this, I was just going to kind of freehand this top part. I don't know if I will need to die cut it or not, but I think I'll just freehand it. So I'm going to stamp this kind of more closer to the bottom because I want to keep that deckled circle layer, because it's going to be layered onto that focal point. And then with this one, because I want to fill this in a little bit, so I stamped it. This was basically the top, and now I'm going to flip it around upside down, and I'm going to stamp again just to kind of fill in that bottom half of my circle. All right, and then we'll clean up this mess a little bit so we don't have green ink going everywhere. Yeah, this is our little silicone mat. I never leave home without it. I love this thing. Okay, and then our flowers we will use, I just have to find my stamp. So it's this little stamp, so we're going to use those as the flowers. And like I said, I was going to do the Petunia Pop and then I think the wild wheat, just to bring in some other colors. So I'm just going to stamp these going across. And then I'll do the other color, the wild wheat. I'll shift my stamp over so that you can see the two colors, the two different colors of flowers. All right, so there's that. And then, like I said, I'm just going to probably freehand that a little bit. But then this is going to get layered on there. But I do want to cut out my mountain, because on this card you can see how I have my mountain part. I do want that die cut out, and then this I'm just going to put on the bottom here. So I think that is ready to go then. So let's get out our die cutting. So we're going to use the little mountain die from here. I'm going to grab that one just in case I need it. So there's the mountain one. Get this out of the way. Back up just a little bit. So you need your base plate, a cutting plate, and then we will line up our mountain die. I just gotta figure out where I'm at on my mountains here. There we go. About there. And then I'm just going to use some low tack tape just to hold that in place. And then we will get this going. We've got those mountains, which then will line up on our base circle. And then I am going to look at my flowers here, because maybe I will use a little bit of this dye just to give it that texture. I do need to go this way. So I'm just kind of lining it up partially just to give them that textured look. Otherwise you could just freehand this with scissors if you wanted to. It's not. This is just Linda being her her detailed oriented self. Okay. So now we just have that the texture on those flowers. Not required, it's just a little added work to the card, but okay. So then let's go ahead, and I just do this, I have another circle cut out, and it's just because I want to give stability to my card. So I'm just going to add a little bit of, I'm just going to glue this onto the petunia pop. Same size circle. Oops. There we go. And it looks like, oh my gosh, looks like I've got some ink on here, but guess where the mountain's going? We'll cover that muckety muck up. Okay, so this can then go there like so. Okay, and then we got our moon, or our sun. So I'm going to put my sun and position that first. So we'll have our mountains about there. We'll have this kind of coming up over here. And then just gluing down our mountains. So I might come down a little bit. There we go. And then this will overlap on that. Like so. Oops, I need to bring this down just a little bit. Okay. And then I have some of my die cuts done, because this will be attached onto our front like so. So maybe let's add one of our little bunnies. I love these little rabbits and squirrels that are in this set, or in the die set. Okay, let's see here. Let's do I have any rabbits left? Oh yeah, there's one. I want to do a gray. Probably the brown will pop a little bit better. Okay, and I think this is a copper clay is this color. Is another one of our in colors. So we'll do that. Our little rabbit. And then I think just to tie it in, we could do probably one of these trees. I know whenever I do die cutting, I always have a plethora of things that have been die cut. So let me grab another. I'm looking for, I want like a mossy meadow if I have any. Oh yeah, here's one. If I do that in another old olive, just to kind of give it a little bit of contrast. There we go. And then I also have a little rock that I can put on there. Okay, perfect. Okay. Oh my goodness, all my squirrels. Get some of these out of the way. Yeah, a lot of times, if you know me, I do like to die cut, so I will do all my die cutting, and then that way it's easier when I go to create. I can just grab pre-die cuts, you know, when I'm doing my card designs. It just kind of saves a little bit on time. All right. So again, these die cuts, these are from that Forever Forest die. That is in the online exclusive section of the Stampin' Up! Website. So that's not on sale, but the In the Grove and the In the Grove dies, those are on sale this month because they're new in this year's catalog. All right, and then on this little rock, just to add, I had a sponge dauber that had some Pebble Path ink on it. I am just going to give a little bit of depth to my rocks here. So again, this had some ink already on it. I'm just kind of sponging just to give some. And then this I will pop up with a dimensional. All right, and then we'll just kind of put that there. Okay, and then same thing as the other one. You want to make sure that you, when you go to adhere this, that you're only putting it on half of that front flap. Like so. So again, we'll do that same thing. I just kind of line it up, and then I just make a little mark with my pencil so that I know from here on over is where I'm putting my tear and tape. And then just erase your pencil mark. Remove this backing. And then place that right on the, center it. Check to make sure. And there you go. So that is the smaller version of the twisted diagonal. And again, we did the larger one. So really fun. The ideas are endless on what you can do with this, and the colors and the, you know, papers and stuff that you choose. So always a really fun, unique card to give somebody. So thanks again for watching. If you have not liked or subscribed to my channel, make sure you do so. I am going to be starting a new fun fold series featuring the various ways to use how to do Z folds. So this one kind of concludes our gatefold, but there's still some more gatefolds out there. So I'll probably do another series on the gatefolds just because there's some other fun ones. But I'm moving on to Z folds. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Have a great and creative day, and I will stamp again with you soon. Bye-bye.